Welcome to the Veteran Lawyer Channel, a place where stories meet passion, truth, and transformation. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Retired Catherine Gishuki, a veteran, a lawyer passionate in criminal justice, and a storyteller. Here we uncover raw truths, unscripted life stories, change perspectives, inspire change. So let's dive in. So I would love to share with you how I got into the legal career back in 90s, I think. So I went to Bishop Gatimo Gadu Girls High School. We did not have much of career counseling, so I would not say that I picked up being a lawyer from the high school, but I passed well. I think I got a B+. So generally, I was in a good place to take up either law or do maybe any other science career-based course. But around that time, I think Moi University Faculty of Law had just started, or I think it was in the third, fourth year. So they were looking for students to be admitted in that faculty. So by default, I was admitted to Moi University, and that is where my legal career started. Moi University is based in Eldoret. So of course it meant journeying from Nyeri, at times come through Nairobi and go by bus all the way to Eldoret. I remember the first day of reporting, it was my dad who took me. We got into a bus overnight and traveled to Eldoret. Got there in the morning, chilly place, make the queues, join the others who are coming to be admitted into the school. And that's how I started my journey in Eldoret, many, many kilometers away from Nyeri. I had never been there before. It was good, again, because I was introduced to this part of Kenya where I had never been. Law was not my first choice, or it's not what I would have wanted to do. I had wanted to do BCom. I'm not sure what option, but I had this friend who was doing BCom that time. Her name is Alice. So she was in Lower Kabete campus. So I saw her as a person I had wanted to be my role model. I think commerce then, as we would call it, was my first choice. It was my first love, but that's not what I ended up doing. But being called to Eldoret to do law, I quickly adjusted, get into the reading culture, very, very heavy reading culture. Of course, you know, to become a lawyer, you read a lot. And got the hang of it and adjusted. Okay, university life was very different. You have been removed from home, from familiar environment, and you are out there. You have to make friends. You have to live by yourself. I can't remember how long the term was, but of course you are away from home for a long time. So that was a little bit difficult at first. But I remember I had one or two friends where we had been together in high school. Yes, they were not doing law, but they were doing other courses, but we would meet. Being away from home, of course, I suffered from homesickness, but slowly I adjusted. And one highlight, not necessarily a positive one, is that having been in a girls' school for the longest, or rather for the high school time, I then get into university where we are all of us, male and female. And it's around this time when you're in your early 20s, dating had not been the thing in high school. And you fall into these traps. So I found myself getting into dating, and that did not end very well. And I became my mother at that early stage in my university life. And that, of course, impacted on then how I proceeded with my studies from there, because, of course, there was disruption. I had to stay on home a bit, not for too long, because my parents stepped in. And I then rejoined and continued with my studies. So a bit of distraction there, because, of course, when you're a young mother, there are things you have to put up with. You have to put up with body changes. You have to put up with hormonal changes. You don't even know what is happening to your body, to yourself, to your mind. Yeah, so I think that had a hit on me in terms of how then I was able to relate with my friends. My grades from there. Yeah, but eventually we made it. I had the support system back at home, and also a bit in the university through a few friends. So once I gave birth, I stayed home for 5 weeks. And then my parents stepped in and they were left with the kid. So I proceeded back to the university. And of course, yes, you have gone back to uni. You don't have your child with you. But at the back of my mind, I knew that the baby was safe back at home. So that's how I managed to go back and proceed with my studies. And now in campus, of course, you go back to this, if I may call it, stigma, but it's not normal, it's not usual. Of course, a few of the ladies who had probably fallen into that same trap, but it wasn't something usual to get a baby at that age. So stigma set in, people will be talking in low tones. Yeah, but there was support from a few friends and we managed, we scaled through it. On the same, in terms of support system, around the same time, I think my sister she finished high school. So she was able to join my mother back at home and lend a hand in raising my child. So that was also, that also came in handy. And up to date, my son, according to him, he has two mothers. He has me, who is a biological, and he also knows my sister as a mom. So after graduating, there's a requirement that you then have to enroll in the Kenya School of Law program. Nowadays, it's called the Advocate Training Program, ATP. It's more elaborate now, it's more structured. During our time, it wasn't that structured. For us, we were required to get placed in a law firm. So you identify what they call a people master, an advocate of a certain years post-admission experience. And then now you go through the tutelage, you understudy them, they train you for an year. So I was placed in a law firm in this town, Aremi Kimathi and Company Advocates, and that's where I did my pupillage for 1 year. That entailed accompanying my people master to court, just to have a feel of how things are done in court, to experience litigation. I could also be given, once in a while, you're given files to review, to peruse, to draft pleadings. Maybe you're required to draft a plaint or you're required to draft submissions. At times, we could also be sent to court. So you're given a file, you're sent to court with a note to go look for somebody who had the audience, or an advocate who has the audience to address the court. Then now once you get to court, you pass on the note to the advocate so that they can hold brief on behalf of your people master. Because say you have many matters coming up, say my people master is busy in Milimani and he has a matter in Makadara or even out of town, say in Kikuyu, they can't afford to be in different places at the same time. So a people would come in handy, and severally I did that. I was sent out to other courts to look for advocates to hold brief for my people master. Remember, those days is not like now. when digital court hearings were being done, there was nothing like that. COVID came with all these blessings that nowadays court can be done virtually. Then it had to be physical appearance. So if you're in one court and you can't be in another court, you have to send someone to look for someone to hold briefs. So I did that a lot for that 1 year. But you graduate with time. When you're starting off, it's just a matter of maybe reviewing files, getting to understand how things are done. But as I grew into now my pupillage period, you could then even be able to draft pleadings and they're filed in court, or even do research and write opinions, and at times even attend high-level meetings, maybe for corporate clients with the people master. So I cleared my pupillage in the year 2003, I think sometimes in October there. And once you are done with pupillage, you then get to the next level, or being admitted to the bar. So I was admitted to the bar on the 3rd of June 2004. Oof, this is the 21th year. Yeah, so I'm a lawyer of 21 years post-admission experience. That entails being cleared by the registrar of the High Court, and then a date is set when the Chief Justice will then have this meeting with you. Your name is read out, your name is actually entered into the role of advocate, and that means then you have the audience, you have the right of audience before a court of law. Before that admission, before crossing over that bar or the bridge, you cannot rightfully or competently address a court. Before that time, you remain a lawyer. You've just graduated with a law degree, but you are not an advocate to the High Court of Kenya. So it's a big thing to cross over from being a lawyer to an advocate. And it's big, especially nowadays, because for lawyers who are getting into the profession now, once you finish pupillage, they go to the Kenya School of Law, like physically, they take exams. I know of a few who have really, you do a lot of retakes, but once that is done, you then celebrate and get admitted to the bar. And the admission also comes with the admission number. So that's how you're identified in the legal profession. Mine is 5386 of 04. So it's just like an ID. It's an ID you have as a lawyer. Once you're done with pupillage, the admission does not come straight on. There's a span of about maybe even 6 months, depending on how busy the diary of the court is. So there's a period that is called holding over. You have finished your pupillage, but then you're holding over and awaiting the admission. So I also underwent the holding over. So I moved from the law firm where I was doing pupillage to another law firm and held over for a few months before now the admission date came, and then I was admitted as an advocate. So after admission, as I've said, you then have the right of audience to appear before court. Yes, you're still fresh, you're not that experienced, you're probably even scared before to appear before a court, but then you have to dive into it. So I practiced law in a law firm in Bruce House. I think the proprietor is now a judge for 1 year. And then while I was there, a friend of mine who then was working in the Air Force happened to inform me about the opportunities opening up in the Kenya Defense Forces. By then we were calling it the Armed Forces. And he said, why don't you try? And that's how I had an idea that Jeshi is recruiting, and there's even a legal career in the army. And I applied and I was called for an interview. I still remember it was back in 2005, January. So I appeared before this panel of military officers, senior military officers, went through the interview, and at the end of it all, I was handed over a reporting letter to report to the recruit training school in Eldoret. In the next episode, I'll take you through my military journey, how I joined, how I went for training, finishing training, and then reporting to the defense headquarters, growing into my military career as a lawyer, the promotions, the courses, the travels here and there, and eventually up to when I left in July 2018. Thank you for joining this journey of truth and justice. If today's story has resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, please stay bold, stay inspired.